I'm Drea.
I'm Meg.
I'm Tina.
And I'm Jess.
And this is Pardon My Stash. Welcome to Pardon My Stash, a podcast about knitting within the fiber arts and how awesome it is. Woo. Before we get started on today's topics, let's find out what everyone's working on this week. Meg?
I am working on the Poema sweater by Vera Sanon. Put this down like right before Christmas break, and I just recently picked it up again, mainly because I was struggling with the sleeves, and Jess was like, you literally just have this backwards. Like without putting too fine a point on it, that was what was wrong with it. I was holding it backwards. And then as soon as she explained what I did, I stopped knitting the sleeves anyway and started working on the body. So I could have just been working on the body the whole time, but that's me. That's how I roll. I am knitting it out of Critical Hit dye as a base we haven't released yet. It is a DK weight silk merino, and it is in the colorway Bag of Holding.
Yeah, I was going to say the color on this is really, really good. It's like a red, rustic kind of, I'm going to go on the farm and get my chicken eggs kind of color. In a good way. That's a compliment, by the way.
No, I know. I'm just thinking about wearing this sweater to get chicken eggs, and I'm like, this is not the sweater I would wear to get chicken eggs. Let me put on my lace-sleeved sweater to go get some chicken eggs.
Yes.
I wanted chickens. Jess won't let me get chickens.
Listen, dude,
They can't.
The cats
be a pain.
are smelly enough, man.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's fair.
They do like to chase people if they're angry.
I mean, that part's kind of funny. I would appreciate that.
Jess?
I have a couple projects I'm starting and not doing, but right now I am working on a mini dragon keychain. Again, I have done this in the past, but it is basically mini dragon amigurumi, and I got it for free on the site called Super Gurumi, and they got a bunch of cute like mini crochet things that you can choose from. So I'm doing the dragon, and I'm using, I don't know, I think this is Bahamut from Critical Hit Dyes.
It is
and
Bahamut.
then Cascade Yarns Heritage Black.
I mean, Bahamut is pretty good to use when you're making a dragon.
Listen, right? I feel like it's appropriate.
Drea.
I am working on our make-along shawl, our Matchies make-along. It is the Arachne shawl by Claire Slade, and we are using Plies and Hellhounds in fingering weight penny in the colorways Flower Moon and Nightmares. And spider shawl.
Yeah.
I've got like a spider head. Look.
Oh, it's so good.
Nice.
I love the spider head.
How far are you?
I have not gotten too far, mostly because I've been so much stuff has been going on, so I haven't had, I feel like this is one of those projects you need to sit down and have time to do it.
It is.
And I just haven't had that sit down time yet. It's been, going at 200%, and yeah, your girl's tired. So I've been working on this super bulky hat like that I'm just freehanding, and I messed it up like 3 times already. So
Nice.
and
I believe in you though.
there's no pattern though. So like I just mess it up in the sense of I look at it and I go,
And you
I don't
didn't
like
like
that. So I'm just gonna go back. But yeah, yours is coming out amazing.
Thank you.
I really, really like it.
I do too. And I've only worked on it like 4 times, I think.
Yeah, you've put in good sessions though when you have worked on it.
It's
so
football.
yeah, and now it's
It's
gone.
It was like 4 football games, and that was it.
When will we sit down now? We have no excuse to sit down.
When will there be football?
Be sure to check out our website, pardonmystash.com, for more information as well as pictures regarding our current projects, patterns, and yarns. So today we are going to be talking about something that I've actually been addressing on my personal Instagram for a hot minute, and it's been the idea of process over product. And I really wanted to talk about it as a group because I think we all have lots of thoughts on this, how it affects us, and just the idea of focusing on the process over the product. It's been very difficult for myself to get into that mindset. I definitely grew up with the idea of product, of being productive, of, having something to show when it comes to your work. So focusing on the process has been an interesting step. But I do feel that it does lead you into more of a mindful crafting, whether you're crocheting, knitting, what have you. Focusing on the process over the product can really enhance the experience overall, so that you can have somewhat of a deeper appreciation for the craft that you're working on, rather than what that finished object looks like. So the question that I posed to you is, to start things out, when it comes to mindful knitting, what gets you in the mood to be mindful?
I don't think that I'm mindful about my knitting, but I am, I definitely listen to myself, and I only do it when I feel like it. I guess it is mindful, but
I mean, that's essentially being mindful, because
Yeah.
you're listening to your body and listening to what, whether or not you use the word mindful. I'm just using mindful as a general term, but that's essentially what that would be doing. Is
I'm pretty thoughtless, if I do say so myself.
I think you have lots of thoughts in your head.
I try to keep them inside a lot of the time. Yeah, knitting is definitely like a distraction for me. So when I don't want to do anything but let my hands go, then it's when my body's ready for it.
Yeah.
And I have like an avoidance mindset. So if you give me something that I was going to do, but now you tell me that I have to do it, I'm just not going to do it. I was going to do it, but no, I'm not gonna.
Because you said I had to, so
Yeah.
forget that.
I've been trying to work on that. It's not been very successful, though.
As long as you're trying.
I'm aware of it, and that's about where I'm at.
Yeah. Hey, that's better than most. What about you, Meg?
I have noticed over the last couple of years, I don't tend to get projects off the ground in the first half of the year. I have a very bad track record with completing projects that I started before May. I don't know why. And I don't know if it's a work thing, because I tend to have much more time. I tend to be more relaxed in the summer, but then in the fall, like, I'm still getting stuff done. So I feel like that can't be it.
I don't know, but the ironic thing is you also tend to start a lot more
I
projects.
start a lot. No, I have
Year
terrible
too.
startitis from like January until April, where I'll cast on a whole bunch of stuff and nothing will stick. And then all of a sudden the planets will align, and one thing, last year it was Calliope. One thing will stick. And then I'm good. But I'm going through that right now, where I have 2 projects on the needles. I'm pretty bored with both of them. I'm really not entertained by either. And I don't like to be the type of person that's like, I'm like, this is my like process. This is my hobby. I should not be doing something for a hobby that I am not enjoying. That doesn't make any sense. But by the same token, I think that's where the product knitting comes in, because I want the products. I want them enough to not, and I enjoy the yarn enough. Both, I like this yarn. I like the yarn that we're using for the make along. I like the patterns. I want the finished product. And that is what is getting me through the lack of initiative to get any of these things done.
Do you think that the reason why the first half of the year tends to be hard for you is because it's also technically the last end of the work year? Like it's like
It might be
a factor of like exhaustion from work.
It might. I mean, these 3 months, like January, February, March, are the worst. Like literally the worst months. I feel like when we come back from April break, the rest of the year is like that.
Yeah.
It goes by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like a lot of the pressure is off. Like by May, everyone's kind of coasting and we're getting to the end. So it's a possibility. I mean, I would generally think that September would be the worst, because I don't, and you can ask Jess, the first like 2 weeks of school, I don't like think about anything. I'm like tunnel vision. Let me get my feet under me. Let me figure out who my kids are. Let me figure out my schedule. It's like starting a brand new job every year. Even if you've taught the same thing before, it's a whole different ballgame, whole different schedule, whole different group of kids. It's more like switching your coworkers every year. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly why. But statistically, I will cast on a whole bunch of stuff. I may or may not finish it. And then right around April or May, something sticks. And then I'm good for the rest of the year.
You recognize it. You're just
I
like
recognize
Drea.
the pattern.
I
I recognize the pattern. I really have no idea like what could be done about it. I would prefer it not be that way because I really get super frustrated when I'm like, oh, I really love that pattern and I really love that yarn. I don't know why it's been in a bag now for 3 years. No rhyme or reason. Maybe it's like that Friday night thing. Only for me, it's like I cast on between
the beginning of the year,
between January and April. Like I'm
That's
doomed.
just
For this project will never be done. That's I don't know. I don't know why it is. I am mindful. I'm conscious of it, but I have zero idea how to kick that.
Yeah, and shout out to everybody who's been telling us that they're not starting things on Fridays. It's like crap.
Oh, yeah.
No, that is really killing me. Like,
Listen, you know,
I was gonna start this, but it's Friday.
Well, it's
Thanks,
Friday.
guys.
No
Thanks,
more.
guys, for looking out. And we're like, what?
I guess I'll just veg out on the couch and scroll Instagram.
I mean, yes.
for the next few hours, as
Well,
God intended.
Clearly, that was what was wanted.
That's what was supposed to happen.
What about you, Jess? Process, product, mindful knitting.
So mine depends on the project. Because most of the time I won't even start something. If I don't think I'll enjoy the final product by the end of it, like the final product, I'm like, that's a lot of garter. Do I want that? Maybe. So that's step one.
Yeah.
And then step two is, do I want to do all that garter? Probably not. Are there other things in it that make it interesting? If there's nothing in the pattern that makes it interesting, then it's like, okay, do I have yarn that I want to see what it looks like knit up? Because that's kind of cool. And if I can't get at least one of those three, then that project probably is never going to happen for me. So I kind of set it up beforehand. Most of the time I require at least two of those needs to be met. Every once in a while, like, the Celtic wrap.
The Celtic myths.
Oh,
shawl.
God.
Yeah.
That one.
That was the one.
That one I just wanted the product, not gonna lie. Like I actually, that's not true. When I got
liked the yarn.
I
You
liked
liked the
the
yarn.
bind off with the cable.
Yeah.
I did like the yarn. I didn't like it in garter though, and it was a lot of garter before you got to the cable part.
Stockinette.
Or stockinette,
Yeah, it was a lot of
whatever. It was
stockinette.
almost the same. You're just
Pretty much the
knitting
same.
and purling because it was back and forth. So I had to purl, and that was tough. That was tough until I got to the cable, and then I was like, okay, now all the things are good again. But that one was definitely, the process was not it for me on that one. But most of the time I do. I do actually look at a project for a while, and I have to think about, like, am I going to enjoy this? If I find the actual pattern itself kind of boring or repetitive, will I at least like the yarn and seeing that go up? Do I want the finished product? Is that something? It's if the pattern itself has like interesting techniques in it, that is also a plus, because I have totally done cables with yarn that probably should not be doing cables with Celtic, not
The Celtic
myths.
myths. Oh yeah,
probably
the
was it.
hedgehog with Bridget.
It was
yeah.
very variegated. You can't really see the cables through it. I liked it anyway. I can see the cables when I'm right up there with it, and I'm like, no, this is good. I enjoy this. Everyone else would probably be like, why did you do that? I'm like, just because. Don't question.
So your process looks like one of those charts where it's like start here and then follow the arrow depending.
Yeah,
on
I'm
your
like
answer.
that crazy guy with the lines going to the pictures. Like, does it have this? Does it have this? Will I get to this?
Honestly, I was thinking more about that, like the D&D where they're like, which alignment, or not which alignment, which class should you choose? And it was like, do you like animals? Do you like to eat animals? Like, and then you just kind of, it moves along until you get to barbarian or druid or whatever. And it's like, ta-da, there you go. That's where you're supposed to be.
That's where we're at.
And I feel like that's you.
That's my process.
like every time.
Every time. And then I have things that sit in my like, saved projects that I might eventually want to get to, and every like 3 years or so I'm like,
Oh my God, no, but side note, who hasn't gone into their like favorites and been like, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm never going to knit that. It's pretty, but I'm never going to knit that.
Like I like
on
looking at
Ravelry.
that, but
I actually
I do that all the time.
I get afraid to unfavorite things because
Really?
I have such a bad memory that I'm worried if I unfavorite it now, I might not like it right now, but I might like it later.
It may hit you later.
So my
That's also
favorites
fair.
is like full because I won't
my
undo
God.
things.
No.
So if I'm looking for like stuff I'm going to do, it's the queue. That's what I use Q for.
Yeah.
So like, okay, if I'm actually like favorites are like at some point in time this spoke to me. That's what that is. And then the queue is like, okay, I actually might want to do this, but then I still look at the queue and go, why?
No, I do that with the queue too. And I'm looking at it, or I'm like, I was going to knit that with that yarn. No. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
All the time. All
Guys,
the time.
I forgot the queue existed on Ravelry. I have favorites, and I have library. And then I have projects. So sometimes I'll go through the project and be like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. I forgot that queue I probably have stuff in the queue that I didn't realize was in there that I haven't looked at or touched since they got there.
I have a stash now. It took so long. Anyway. But yeah, so and I think it's however you get there, it's like with in terms of process or product. As long as it gets you motivated to do the thing, then I guess you're winning on that aspect. I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer to that.
Well, I think it's kind of like a chicken or an egg kind of situation because it's like, I don't care how much I want the product. If I don't like the process, I'm
That's
not
fair.
going
You're
to
not
do
going
it.
to get
Right.
the
Like
product.
for example, my mom made us this beautiful wall hanging for Christmas. It's been hanging up on our wall outside since November. And I took it down yesterday because I'm like, it's a Christmas tree. It doesn't belong there anymore. And I took it down. I'm like, the wall looks really bare. And I'm like, man, I want another wall hanging. I don't want to make one. So I'm calling my mom and I'm like, look, if I buy the fabric, will you quilt this for me? And she's like, oh yeah. Like, how many do you want? I'll make a bunch. And I'm like, that's what I mean. Like, I don't care how badly I want the product. If I'm not going to enjoy the process, which I am not interested in quilting, I'm not doing it. And the same thing goes the flip side. If I don't care how much I enjoy knitting something. If I get to the end and I hate it, I hate the finished result, I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I spent 160 hours on this project and I hate it. I feel so fulfilled. Like, I feel like you kind of, I totally get that most people lean more towards one or the other, but I don't feel like you can completely disassociate the two.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I going through this entire thing has been weird for me because for me, I definitely lean toward product.
Mm-hmm.
Like that defined the worth of what I was doing, but that's not a healthy way to go about it. Like,
I think when you bring
all
worth
just-
into it,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
So that's why I've been trying to give more, like not necessarily like product doesn't matter anymore, but just try to give more emphasis to the process.
yeah.
But I mean, the process in itself, you mentioned that like if you don't like the process, like it's not
Right.
what's the point? But what like if you had to think about what exact part of a process in a project, I hope I'm saying this right. If you had to think about a process that's going on in the project that you really enjoy, like the cast on or like the complicated cable or like whatever, what's like that one like, yes, I'm so happy I'm doing this process right now.
I like repeating patterns, and I like cables.
Yeah.
If I get to do both of those, like A+. The process is great, and at the end, if I have a project that's finished, bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm real lucky, if I really like the process and the product, I'll make another.
Like how many? Like 40? Like the socks? But only one sock.
Sunday swing socks hit so different, though.
That's yeah.
Like, I could fit back in the day, I could cast on, make a whole pair of socks, finish, wind up another skein of yarn, and make another pair of socks. Same pattern. Over and over and
I
over
can
and
do
again.
like a pattern maybe max like twice or three times, but then I'm done. But like I have put that Very Vital rib beanie pattern out, and all my testers, like almost all of my testers, came back to me and were like, "I made 8 of these.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep making them." I'm like, "Oh, okay, you can make it. You can make it. Whatever you want to make."
It's simple.
But
it's a repeating pattern.
Yes. And
the product is good when you're done.
Get
Yeah.
a bombardment of pictures.
She was. I did. I got a picture. Like one of my testers sent me a picture of like all of her children, grandchildren had hats.
That's sweet. That is sweet.
Like, you know. So, but I can understand like that. I don't think I've found that pattern yet for me.
I've knit one thing 4 times, but that's one pattern. I knit the Utrecht beanie by
Oh yeah.
Dutch Girl. I knit that 4 times. But yeah, I'm not usually like, I'll think that I want to knit it more than once, like I did with More Simple Lines. I was like, yeah, we're gonna do this a second time, and then I was about halfway through, and I'm like, why did I do this? This is a terrible idea.
I feel like I could do another Simple Lines with enough time in between.
Yes. I think the problem was trying to do 2 in the same year. By the time I was halfway through, I'm like, and the other thing with Simple Lines is that the border is really where it's at.
Yeah.
Like that last bit
Yeah.
is super special.
Yeah. It's the build up
The
too.
build up, you're just like, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah, no,
Here
I'm one
we
and
go
done. I'm
again.
good.
No,
That
was a labor of love for Jess.
It was. I played Yarn Chicken at the end. There was just enough. I'm like, yep, this is it.
No,
I'm
there
done.
wasn't.
Yeah, there was.
You ran out. Remember, we did the bind off with some of my Indecita.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
What was the one that I was playing it that I got?
I don't remember.
No, we said I would use that if I ran out, but I didn't.
We had it in reserve because
We
the
had it in
colorway was
reserve.
close enough.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's just the bind off. You can do the bind off in anything.
No, yeah, I like my the bind off on mine. I don't know what I did. I was so much tighter knitting at the end of that. I'm like, no, I had like an inch left over. It was great.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know. Like for me, I've been contemplating redoing an Orchard House shawl,
Oh, you should.
but the funny part is I told myself, because I gave away my first one, if I made it again, it would be for me. And what I'm contemplating is it's not for me. It's for somebody else. It's for my cousin. And I'm like, no, because like I'm gonna make it, and then it's gonna take me another like 4 years to muster up the energy to. It's a super interesting shawl. I still think it's like one of my favorite things that I've made, but it is complicated. Like there is a different.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, and there's some repeating to a degree, but it's not as repeating as
not
you.
like Simple Lines.
Yeah, no, it's not Simple Lines. Definitely not. It is.
Yeah.
It's not simple. Nothing simple about it. But yeah, no. I think for me, it's gonna be color work. I've been really into color work.
Yeah.
That and when I freehand stuff, I'm freehanding color work, which is also. I mean, if anyone right now just heard that and went, "Oh my God, why?" Like, yeah. No, that's accurate. That's an accurate response. Because like I'll have like a thing in my head and I'm like, okay, yeah. This will totally like it'll math out. Like this will work. And then and it doesn't math out. I don't math. I don't know how to math.
I sat next to you while you were doing that.
Yeah. And I was like, no. Like, yeah, this is fine. No, it's not fine. Nothing's fine. But yeah, there's something about stranded color work that I really enjoy. I don't know.
No, same.
No, that would be my my go-to for a process because I love it because it's like I'm coloring like right there and I want to see the end of the picture. And I've actually done a few freehand color works. I did Paul's hat like years and years ago.
I remember that.
And the scarf with the Shield logo. Like I like doing them. The issue now is finding the time.
Yeah.
Because you do gotta kind of math that out if it's gonna be anything more complicated than just some patterns. Even with patterns, you still have to math it out and make sure you're not gonna be like, that odd stitch where everything is just shifted off and then you're like, well, dang.
I'm just gonna knit these two.
We're just
together.
gonna add a stitch here at the end, and now that's there forever.
Hooray.
The hidden increase. No, that's pattern design. That's feature.
Oh no,
It's so the ribbon, the bottom of the hat is tighter. That's supposed to be like that.
I'm actually going through talking about like pattern design. I'm going through Seed Dot right now, and I actually put And like there's one row where you like do just one knit together and then you continue because the number's off. And I'm like, I really should fix that.
Just whatever.
Like I'm sitting
Just
here
whatever.
like, no. I'm gonna fix
a
that.
feature.
No, it's not a feature. I feel like that's a feature of me going, I don't know how to resolve
but
this.
to be real, I've had a lot of patterns where they're like, yep, and you're just going to knit these two together and then we're going to carry on with life. Like, you're definitely not the only one by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah, I know. I just, it was
I can understand why it
annoying me.
bugs you, though.
I'm like, why? Oh,
Every once in a while, I get the one where we're like, knit front and back. It will be nowhere else in this pattern.
Yep. we got to fix this stitch count
yeah.
one way or another. I would say probably like my two favorite things about the process, for whatever reason, the beginning of the pattern, like not the cast on, because I hate the cast on. If you say you like the cast on, I don't understand you, because that one row of really tight stitches makes me bonkers. But the second row to like the 40th row, I'm always like, yeah, I feel really good. I love this project. This is my new project. Look at me go. And with sweaters, it's usually like right after I do the German short rows, which I really don't like.
Oh
I
my
really
God,
don't
me
like
too.
German short rows. But then after it, I'm like, look at me, I'm a badass. I've got my sweaters all working. And the other thing, and this is so dorky, but this is such a high, is when you're doing any sort of pattern and you get to the end of the row and you hit your stitch count and you're like, yeah. It's like when you were a kid in high school doing math problems and you're like, look at that. It worked out. And I didn't have a lot of those moments in high school. So I'm taking them now with my stitch count, where I'm like, I hit the stitch count and it's correct and I don't have to go back and I don't have to fudge it and it's perfect. That's a good high. Like, that's a good moment when you hit the stitch count, right?
yeah. Because like, especially with like a repeating pattern,
Yes.
and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to have 3 at the end. Do I have
Yep.
3?
Do I have
I did
3?
it.
Yes, there it is. Okay, cool. Next row.
Yeah, and
like
then you
it's a
just
good
hear
moment.
this in your head, and you're just
Especially
like,
lace netting.
yeah.
I am not a huge fan of lace netting. I've never been a huge fan of it. And I always get that like little, like, I can feel my heart rate increasing as I'm getting to the end of the row. And I'm like, am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? And I'm really, really bad at looking at it and being like, okay, I got to do a yarn over there and knit 2 together there and slip slip knit there. And is it right? No, it's not. Okay. And then you get to the end and you're like, okay, yes, perfect.
On the other hand, you get that where you get to the end and your stitch count is right, but then you look at it and you're like, but it doesn't look right. And then now you feel like that kid in class where you got the right answer, but your professor is like, okay, but by your work, this doesn't work. Like, this works for this example only somehow because it's wrong, but your answer is right. So now you got to go back and fix it. And you're sitting there like, but how did I get the right answer?
I didn't have a lot of those moments either. You know, usually math was just, it's wrong all the time.
No, every once in a while I get that. And I'm like, how did I do?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a moment. It's a moment in time.
How did I do?
So, okay, so we've talked about going through process, our favorite part of process. So I want to finish this up with the finishing. So you finished the project. What is your next step? Like, are you like, okay, I finished this and this will remain this way forever and it will never be undone. It will never be given away. It's like, this is my thing. Or are you one that's like, okay, I really like this yarn and I enjoyed that pattern. This is now going to be frogged and I'm going to redo it again. Or
Yikes.
something else entirely.
I don't think I've ever frogged a project to re-knit it.
No. I mean, like to use for something else, not to re-knit the project.
I was like,
This sweater is lovely. Rip.
Let's do it again.
Start it all over right from the cast on.
My fist cardigan. I did a reel about it recently about my fist cardigan, and I love my fist cardigan, but it's now massive on me.
is that the black one?
It was
the black
oversized
one.
when you made it.
It was
too,
oversized
yeah.
already,
Now you're swimming
and
in
now
it.
I'm just like, it just looks like I've a yarn barf on my body at this point. So it's like, yeah. Now I look at it and I go, wow, that was really fun to make, and I really liked it. But now nope, I don't like it now. I don't like it at all. And it's stretched too, like
Right,
from hanging
right.
around. So yeah, But there have been
But that
projects.
makes sense. It's not like you finished it, looked at it for a few minutes, were like, no, I hate that, and then just tore it out.
I did do that with the
you
the
really?
Sunset Ridge, the first iteration I made.
Oh, really?
I definitely all I had left was like the decreases or like the end of the decreases. Like I was at like maybe like I think I was like at knit knit together, knit 3 or something. And I just laid it down and I went, no. I just tore the whole thing out. I was like, no, this is not what I was thinking of.
Oh my
I'll
God.
at least always finish the project, and if I really like it, I keep it for myself, which is a lot of things. But if I enjoyed the process and didn't enjoy the final product, I'll give it away to somebody.
Yeah.
You're welcome if you've received those.
Yeah.
You cherished few.
I tend to go into it thinking that I'm going to keep everything, and then I wind up giving stuff away because I'm like, I'm not, I don't love the way this looks on me as much as I thought. Or how many cowls do you need? How many hats do you need?
I need many hats.
I don't wear them very often.
Every day.
So yeah, it's the same way, but I rarely tear something out once I'm done with it.
Same.
If I'm going to tear it out, I'm going to tear it out 3/4 of the way in when I realize it doesn't fit right, or I've messed it up too many times and I don't want to look at it, or I'm just not feeling it anymore, whatever reason. But if I'm not going to enjoy the product or enjoy giving the product away, it's not getting finished. I'll rip it out first.
I was actually going through my project page recently, and I realized like 90% of it I don't have anymore.
Yeah.
I've given away or traded or whatever. Like it's in the wind.
Yeah.
Somewhere. And I keep telling myself like, no, I'm going to make this one. I'm going to keep this one. But nope, I still have my cocoa bean. And that one is just a good old one. Like you can't go wrong with a cocoa bean.
I love cocoa bean.
And
That's my hat today.
I still have my color work test cowl that I did
That's a
for
good cowl.
the Lumiere.
Yeah.
I still like that just because the cotton is so much better on my neck than wool. I can't do wool on my
That's
neck.
That's a nice cowl too. It's got a nice pattern.
And like and my pineapple hat. And I can't give away my pineapple hat for 2 reasons. One, it's my pineapple hat. And 2, it's absolutely falling apart. Like
Oh, no.
100%. My little I did not make a palm correctly at all. It's just shedding green pieces of yarn all over the place. I'm like, yeah, I probably should remake that palm at some point. But yeah, I haven't. It's just shedding. I think it's going to shed until there's like 2
But it's
little
your
lines.
disaster palm.
Yeah.
It belongs there for as
I
long
like
as
that
it
for you.
lasts.
Yeah. Not to mention I sewed in the palm too, so
Oh no.
yeah. No, I was yeah.
Oh,
I did,
no.
I did fantastic with that hat.
Well,
I really did. And I get so many compliments on it. I really do. I get people will see it and be like, "Oh,
it's a good
pineapple."
pattern.
Yeah.
It's a really cute
Yeah.
pattern.
But what about you, Jess?
So I actually don't wear a lot of woolies.
She wears nothing.
I really don't.
She likes to look
I just,
at them.
I just hoard them. I usually know from when I start if I'm just doing it to do it or if it's going to somebody. And most of the time, if I'm doing it just to do it, I know it's going to wind up somewhere with the rest of them in a box that I look at sometimes. I don't wear hats all that often. I wear mitts sometimes. Socks I destroy. I can't help it.
No, but a lot of the stuff you've been knitting now ends up being like our showpieces.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
we
found
put them on display.
a reason to do them, and actually, it's made me so much happier because I feel like I can do more. Because I always did feel kind of bad, like I want to try this. I'm never gonna wear that. Like, why? Why would I spend the money and the time doing all that? And it's like there would be no one that I knew that I would want to give that to because I don't know a lot of people that know how to take care of woolies. And now I'm like, showpiece.
Yeah.
You know, after the 3 weeks of, I got to block that.
3 weeks.
Sometimes.
3 weeks.
Sometimes.
You're being real generous there.
Listen, sometimes it happens like the week of. Sometimes it's a lot longer. I think I've got that cowl in there. It's still not done. I got to do that.
I can't talk. I literally waited a year
Yeah.
to block a sweater. So.
That you were convinced did not fit you.
Listen, the swatch lied.
I don't know.
The swatch lied.
Do you know what I think? I think the yarn fairies came down and they said, "This is a travesty."
Maybe.
we cannot.
I don't know.
We cannot let this pass.
No.
I don't know.
That's
don't know,
that's Arc
man.
Academia, man. It was
I don't know. I was positive. Well, no, because I don't know. Because I did try it on and it fit me before my surgery and then it fit me after my surgery because it blocked. But that was weird. I don't know. I don't know.
It should have been the opposite.
It should have been the opposite.
Yeah.
Well, it was a little tight on me when I did it the first time. But then I thought like, okay, I'm going to block it out and it's going to be huge. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. It
varies.
But I also do this terrible thing where I finish something and I put it on before I block it and I hate it and I get really upset.
Yeah, you can't do that.
That's what I did with Calliope. I tried it on. I'm like, it's a disaster. And it was the week before Rhinebeck and I'm like, I have no Rhinebeck sweater. This looks awful. And Jess was like, okay, we're going to block it. And we blocked it. And I was like, okay, fine.
My mom's obsessed with your Calliope.
I love that pattern. It's a really, really good pattern. If you make it, block it. Because I tried it on. I'm like, look at this garbage sweater. It looks like a sack on me. It looks terrible. I don't know what happened. Like I finished. I really did. I wanted to cry. It looked so bad. And then we blocked it. And I was like, oh, look at that. Like magic.
Listen.
So I've got to stop. Like I said, from now on, anytime that I finish something, I'm not going to try it on until I block it because like there's no point. There's none.
Blocking is important.
It really, well, you know what? The only time that I haven't blocked something in recent memory was when we did the cocoa bean hat because I remember you guys blocked yours and you were like, it stretches like crazy. And my hat was already big.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not going to block it because if I
yeah.
block it, I'm going to wind up with like a salad bowl for a hat and I won't be able to wear it.
Yeah.
And it fits me perfectly the way it is.
That's it for this episode. For additional content and opportunities to connect with the cast, check out our website at pardonmystash.com. Be sure to tune in next time for more laughs, tears, and Drea
It's me.
at Pardon My Stash.